Imagine spending $1.2 million on an apartment, a penthouse in the sky, floor-to-ceiling glass, views of the most photographed skyline in human history. You sign the papers, you wire the money, you fly to Dubai, and when you land, the building is empty. Not just your floor, not just your block. The entire street, towers that stretch 80 stories into the desert sky. Dark windows, silent lobbies, zero residents. This is not a nightmare. This is not a movie. This is happening right now in the city the world called the future. How did the most expensive real estate market on earth turn into a ghost town? How did a city built on ambition, oil, money, and pure human audacity collapse so quietly that most of the world still doesn't know it happened? And here is the question that should keep every investor awake tonight. Is this just Dubai's problem, or is it the beginning of something far more terrifying on a global scale? Stay with me because what you are about to hear changes everything you thought you knew about money, power, and the fragile illusion of prosperity. To understand the collapse, you need to first understand the dream. And the Dubai dream was the most intoxicating dream the modern world ever sold. Picture this. 1960, Dubai is a fishing village. The entire population of what would become the UAE is roughly 90,000 people. There are no skyscrapers, no highways, no airports, just sand, sea, and date palms. Then oil was discovered, and within 3 decades something impossible happened. Dubai decided not to be an oil city. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum made a bet that stunned economists. He said when the oil runs out, tourists will come, businesses will come, the world will come, if we build a city so extraordinary that no one can ignore it. And so they built it. By 2010, Dubai had constructed 25% of all the world's active construction cranes. 25%. On one small STR. The Burj Khalifa, 828 meters tall, became the tallest structure ever built by human hands. The Palm Jumeirah, a man-made island visible from space, appeared on satellite images like a miracle of engineering. The Dubai Mall became the most visited building on the planet, attracting more visitors annually than the entire country of France receives tourists. The real estate numbers were staggering. Property prices in prime Dubai locations were averaging $4,500 per square foot by 2021. A single villa on the Palms sold for 302 million dirhams, roughly $82 million, in 2022. That broke every record in Middle Eastern real estate history. In 2022, Dubai's property market hit 265 billion dirhams in total transaction value. The world's ultra-wealthy, Russian oligarchs, Indian billionaires, Chinese investors, and European entrepreneurs were pouring money into Dubai like water into sand. Forbes called it the world's most resilient real estate market. Bloomberg called it the new Monaco. And every luxury real estate portal was flooded with listings that had sold before they were even finished. The dream looked bulletproof. It was not. Here is where it starts to fall apart. And I want you to pay attention because the collapse did not come from one direction. It came from 6 directions simultaneously. April 13, 2024. Iran launches over 300 drones and ballistic missiles directly at Israel. The world holds its breath. Oil markets spike. Panic spreads across every financial desk from London to Hong Kong. But here is what nobody in the financial press told you that night. As those missiles flew through the sky, something else happened. Investors in Dubai started making phone calls. They started asking a question that no real estate brochure had ever addressed. How close is Dubai to a Middle Eastern war zone? Iran is geographically closer to Dubai than Washington, D.C., is to New York City by air. When tensions between Iran and the United States escalated to the point of missile exchanges, Dubai found itself in the single most uncomfortable position any luxury real estate market can occupy. It was suddenly ground zero for potential collateral risk. And then social media did what social media does best. It destroyed the narrative. Videos began circulating in early 2023 and exploded across TikTok, X, and Instagram throughout 2024 and into 2025. These were not fake news. These were real people walking through real Dubai neighborhoods recording what they saw. Empty towers. Abandoned villas. Half-finished luxury developments with cranes frozen midair and no workers in sight. The comments sections filled with one phrase over and over again. Ghost City. One viral video filmed by a British expat. The footage showed entire residential complexes in Jumeirah village circle where barely 15% of units had occupants. The developer had sold 100% of the units, but buyers had either never moved in or, worse, had bought purely for investment and now could find no renters and no buyers willing to take their position. The phrase, "Empty Dubai," began trending globally. And the moment it trended, every prospective buyer in the world paused. That pause cost billions. Now I need to take you underneath the surface because what you see on TikTok, the empty lobbies, the silent streets, that is just the visible tip. What lies beneath is a structure so financially precarious that experts who have spent careers studying emerging market bubbles describe it with one word. Terrifying. Let us start with the supply problem. Dubai added approximately 43,000 new residential units to its market in 2023 alone. That is 43,000 new apartments and villas in a single year. In 2024, that number is estimated to have climbed past 50,000. Now here is the problem. Dubai's total population at any given time fluctuates between 3 and 3.5 million people. But the majority of those people, approximately 89%, are expatriates. They do not own. They rent. And they leave when jobs disappear. When tech companies globally began mass layoffs in 2022 and 2023, when the global financial tightening cycle began, and crypto markets collapsed, Dubai's expat workforce took a direct hit. Companies that had opened offices in DFC, the Dubai International Financial Center, started downsizing. The flow of high-earning expats slowed. But the construction never stopped. Here is a number that should alarm every person watching this video. By the end of 2024, Dubai had an estimated vacancy rate in certain residential zones exceeding 30%. In developments like Business Bay and Jumeirah Village Circle, areas that were marketed as the new Manhattan of the Middle East, occupancy in some towers fell below 40%. 40%. In buildings where every unit had technically been sold. How is that possible? Because of Dubai's off-plan purchase system. This is the engine at the heart of the crisis. In Dubai, a developer can launch a project, collect 10 to 20% of the purchase price as a deposit, and begin construction with money that does not fully belong to them. Investors attracted by guaranteed capital appreciation and zero income tax pour in. They flip before completion, or they hold an asset they never intend to actually use. This creates a market that looks healthy on paper and is hollow in practice. Between 2020 and 2024, over 400 new real estate developers were registered in Dubai. Not 40. 400. The vast majority had never completed a project before. And with regulatory oversight that critics describe as dangerously loose by global standards, billions of dollars were committed to towers that existed only as architects' renderings and glossy sales brochures. And then there is the debt layer. Dubai's government does not officially publish sovereign debt figures with the same transparency as many Western economies. But estimates from the Institute of International Finance suggest UAE-linked government entities carry obligations in the range of $150 billion. Dubai World, the state-owned conglomerate, famously required a $25 billion bailout in 2009. And while Dubai has rebuilt considerably since then, the structural dynamics that caused that crisis, overbuilding, speculative investment, and an economy built on transactions rather than production, never fundamentally changed. The cycle simply reset, inflated again, and has now begun to deflate once more. But the crisis has layers even beyond supply and debt. Water. Dubai is a desert city. Its fresh water is almost entirely desalinated from the Persian Gulf. The energy cost of that process is extraordinary. Dubai's carbon footprint per capita is one of the highest on Earth. As global ESG investment criteria have tightened, with European and American institutional investors applying environmental standards to where they place capital, Dubai's hydrocarbon-dependent infrastructure model has begun to look less like ambition and more like liability. In 2024, multiple major European pension funds quietly reduced their UAE real estate exposure. They did not make announcements. They simply stopped buying. And the absence of that institutional money created a gap that no amount of Russian oligarch cash or Indian family office investment could fill. And now I have to tell you the part that nobody in the mainstream media wants to discuss, because this is where the story stops being about Dubai and starts being about the entire architecture of the modern global economy. The twist is this: Dubai was never just a real estate market. It was a financial escape valve. And that escape valve has now been plugged from multiple directions at once. Here is what I mean. When Western sanctions were applied to Russia following 2022, billions of dollars of Russian private wealth immediately relocated to Dubai. It was the perfect destination. No extradition treaty with the United States. No automatic tax information sharing under certain arrangements. An emirate whose government had every financial incentive to ask very few questions. Entire floors of Emaar developments were purchased. But then something shifted. The Financial Action Task Force, the global money laundering watchdog, placed the UAE on its grey list in March 2022. That single designation sent shock waves through every compliance department of every international bank operating in or with Dubai. Suddenly banks became nervous about facilitating Dubai real estate transactions. Suddenly mortgage finance for international buyers became harder to access. Suddenly the invisible river of questionable capital that had quietly lubricated Dubai's property miracle began to slow to a trickle. The UAE was removed from the FATF grey list in February 2024. But the reputational damage was done. And more importantly, the structural reforms required to achieve that removal, greater transaction transparency, enhanced beneficial and stricter anti-money laundering checks, fundamentally changed the attractiveness of Dubai as a shadow financial center. And here is where the Iran-United States dimension becomes not just a geopolitical footnote, but a direct economic weapon aimed at Dubai's heart. Iran and the United States have been in a shadow war for decades. But the events of 2024 introduced something new. Missile strikes. Direct state-on-state military engagement. And while Dubai is not a combatant, it occupies a geography that makes neutrality increasingly expensive. The UAE has historically maintained what it calls a balanced relationship, trading with Iran in certain goods while simultaneously hosting the largest U.S. military prepositioning hub in the region at Al Dhafra Air Base. That balancing act, which once seemed like genius, is now a permanent source of investor anxiety. Every time a missile is fired in the region. Iranian ballistic missiles heading toward Israel.